Hello there, g'day. My name is Bruce from Brankers Creations, and welcome to this rather unusually timed live stream. So, okay. Ultimately, I got this Macintosh SE 30. I was going to open it up today, and I figured I may as well live stream it, share it with the public. I'll tell a little bit of story about the where this computer came from and ultimately what to expect. So, quick hello to Frank S, Jay from the House of Moth, Pretzel FTW, Nick Lopez, Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack, and SadMax356. Thank you very much for joining me today. I know this is a very unusual time for me to live stream, and I apologise to anyone who's like, oh no, I missed it because you don't normally live stream at this time, and this is very true. But I hope that there will at least be some appeal to maybe watch this on a replay, because we have the mystery box. It's the mystery box. So I got contacted by someone, Ryan Design, hello, Jared Burma, hello, Eric is here, hi there Eric, DJ Craze, Retro Fox. So essentially what happened is someone reached out, Robert Zarafa, hello. Someone reached out and said, look, I know this guy who has got a bunch of Macs, and he was going to just chuck them out for council pickup, you know, just to throw them away. And I said, no, look, you might have something worth some money there, so let's investigate. So he contacted me and he said, look, he's got these computers. He said specifically he has two SE30s and a Centris 650 and some drives, just some drives. And I said, you know, he said, look, you know, I heard that you do repairs on these things, and we're thinking about refurbing these and then selling them for a mozza on eBay. And I said, yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. Happy to do that. G'day, Justin. And so, you know, well, we just started talking, and he started talking about, you know, bringing them over to me, and then I could have a look at them and I could give him an assessment as to whether they're even worth repairing and what he could expect to maybe sell them for. Anyhow, I don't know, a few days, maybe even a week goes by, and I sort of thought, you know what, I might just throw an offer at him. I might just say, look, you know, what can I, you know, can I just throw you an offer to just take them all off your hands, one single sale? You don't need to worry about paying me for restoring them or anything like that. I'll just give you a wad of cash and I'll just take the lot from you. And we went down this track, and, you know, it was like, yeah, okay, no worries. And we bounced some, you know, I gave an offer, and then he gave the counter offer and all that sort of stuff. And I said, look, I am happy to pay the amount that you've suggested, but I will need to see some photos. And the photos I got were terrible. As it turns out, they're actually not as bad as they looked in the photos. So, but the photos came out really bad, and these things have been stored in a, what do you call those things where you keep horses? Stable. Inside a stable in a sort of semi-rural property here in Sydney. About a half an hour drive north, sort of northwest from where I am now. And Shady Robot, hello. Have I already said hello to you, Frank S? Yes, I have. You were one of the first there. I did say hello to you already. I'll say hello again anyway. So these have been kept in a stable. They had been in the bag, but there was a lot of dirt and grit and everything like that. And of course, these have never been opened. I mean, other than when they were first set up. And so we could be finding anything inside here. I could be finding dirt, grit, rust, battery corrosion, anything. I mean, I really don't want there to be battery corrosion because I paid for this. So you know, anyhow, after I'd seen some photos, I went back to him and I said, look, you know, under the circumstances, based on what I see in these photos, I can't really offer you any more than X amount. Too big a risk for me, you know. I might do well from it, but I might not, you know, and I can't sort of pay that sort of money to just potentially be walking away with, you know, rubbish. So, so anyhow, I drove to the stable today, picked them up. They both, what I ended up getting was, because this is the funny thing, is that when he did send me the photos, he didn't have two SE30s. He had an SE 800K and an SE30 and a Centris 650. Now the SE, yeah, there's some value in it, but not a whole lot. I mean, they're pretty common these days. And it's an 800K. I've already got an 800K. What I want is an FDHD, but I haven't had one arise yet, but I'll get one eventually. So anyhow, inside this Mac, we are going to just check and see what's going on. Now, one thing I can show you already, I'm just going to change cameras here to the side view. It has a tail. Ooh. Now, in this tail, it actually says here, video output. So this would appear to have a video card in it, but I don't know what to find. And this is just a, what is that, 9-pin? 5, 6, yeah, so this is like one of these 9-pin connectors. So it's not a VGA connector and it's not a DB15, it's somewhere in between. So, so look, we've got a video card inside. I don't know what to expect from that. This has not been used in decades, so it is going to have all the original you know, sort of RAM in it. So I can't imagine it will have more than 8 tops, but probably more likely like 4 or maybe even less. We'll see. So anyhow, we'll see what's going on here. And of course, they've poked this out the little security thing, so that's going to be fun removing it. It does have the interrupt switch, which is nice. So many of these, when you buy them these days, don't have this switch anymore. Always remember to remove this before you take the case off, because if you do, if you forget, it's very easy to then damage these little things here. You can, of course, go in and 3D print these, but they're fine from a distance. But if you know, if you can get hold of the originals, they're always a lot better. Excuse me. We get a little bit of an indication as to what the colour was like. As you can see, we've got a bit of a two-tone thing going on here. This has obviously been exposed to light up from here, and then down here we're a lot closer to the original colour, but you know, that's it there. So I think the next thing we need to do is ultimately open this up and have a look inside. So I'm going to grab my trusty, was it T15 Torx? Yeah, T15 Torx. If you are working with these compact Macs and you don't have one of these ultra long stemmed T15s, do yourself a favour, go out and grab one. It will make your life a lot easier. I didn't end up buying one of these. Joe is here. Hello there, Joe. Oh, you know what I did not do? I didn't say Macintosh. It is Macintosh already. March, 2nd of March here. So I will have to stick the hashtag. You just made me think of it there, Joe, with you turning up. I'll have to stick the hashtag on that afterwards. Because this is Happy Macintosh. It's a Mac and it's March. Macintosh. It fits perfectly. Carthor, hello. So anyhow, we're going to remove these. For years and years and years, I had a screwdriver that had like an extender attachment-y thingy on it that just fit down the holes there that I could use. And I used that for 20 years or something. And then I got one of these, and then I'm like, why did I wait so long to buy one of these? These just make life so much easier. So we've got 4 screws here in the SE30. We've got the 2 dark ones down the bottom. These are the ones that have a finer thread. They're designed to screw into metal. So they're screwing into the chassis there. And then we have the 2 at the top here inside the handle. These are the ones you need the long shaft for. And these are the wider thread plastic ones. Now this one could be a bit of a drama to open because it has been closed for such a long time. This here is a little sticker for a venue, a computer place here that used to exist. It doesn't anymore in Ryde. That's where I grew up. How's that for a coincidence? This is for a place called Computerland, where you used to be able to buy computers. They don't exist anymore, so don't look for them. Gutbaum. Hello, Gutbaum. Yes, holy SE30. So it's nice when you do find like an SE30 that has been sitting in a, as I said, barn find, but it has actually been in a stable. When you find one of this has been sort of for such a long time, has been, kind of sitting up there, it's nice to have these things see the light of day again and end up in the hands of enthusiasts, that sort of thing. Some of the other computers that I got, as I said, I got a Macintosh SE 800K. I may be looking at selling that in the future, we'll see. And I've got a Centris 650. I will be hanging on to that because I have actually been after a 650 for quite some time. Just to make up that. I mean, I will probably look to try and get a full CPU in it because the Centris has the LC68040, so that's the 040 that doesn't have the math coprocessor. I will be probably looking to see if I can get hold of the 68040 that does have the floating point unit in it, which will actually make it more of a Quadra 650, then its interest. Okay, so we've got to open this up. My method is typically to put it around this way. This is why I don't cut my nails as much as I should. I then get my nails into this spot here, hand on the top there, and I just give it a that. And if you're lucky, it comes apart and you don't do yourself or your computer any harm. Now we're going to have to be really careful here because we do have the tail hanging out the back of this computer. We're thinking there might be spiders in here, are we? Yeah, okay. Yep. The jumping ones aren't too dangerous around here. The jumping spiders are pretty benign. It's the ones that don't jump that you're scared of. Okay, so let's just do this a little bit at a time. I think I'd ideally like to try and find a way of releasing this cable first so I can get it off. Oh, it's got that old plastic smell. Here we are. This should, yeah, that just comes out. Cool. So let's whip that off. There's only 3 wires there, which suggests to me that this is not a color display output. I would expect more wires if it was color displayed. This is probably just a mono, maybe a full page, something like that. Okay, so we have the original hard drive in there. I see the ROM chip. So this is, hang on, look, I've seen these. I'm going to whip this out in a minute. Eric is here. Hello, Eric. There's actually it's one of the floppy drive, you know, the yellow discs that you put in to stop the heads from banging together. It's got one of those inside there. So it's a little floppy protector. So the person who put this away did do a smart thing in that regard and, you know, sort of put the protector in there for storage. The Tech Knight, hello there. First time viewer of the channel, well, welcome very much. I have watched some of your videos, Tech Knight, and I have enjoyed them. Thank you for joining me today. I have chatted with you on the Tinker Different Discord from time to time. Now, I'm sure a lot of people out there in the vintage world know of the, what was his name? Larry Pina, something like that did the Macintosh, was it Repair and Upgrade Secrets or something? What were the 2 books that he did? There was that blue book. I can't remember the name of it though. Anyhow, he brought out those books where he talked about repairing and upgrading Macs. And this little device that's in here, I have seen referenced in that book, though I have never actually grabbed one before. And this is one that allows you to get a video signal, an external video signal. I'm just going to whip it out and I'll show it to you. You know, because this was obviously something you would have been able to buy back in the day, just, you know, because it allowed you to do this. And this is it here. So I'll see if I can get a bit of a closer view there. We'll get the old autofocus going on there. So this little video adapter for SE30, and there's not a lot to it. I've seen people actually, I think, reproducing these now. They've actually taken them and made new ones. Elemento, hello there. It's a contrivance for the SE30. It is. I've got a little contrivance for the SE30. So this is video adapter for Macintosh SE or SE30 model 2703, serial 909141, made in USA, Power R Inc. Seattle, WA. What's WA? In Australia, that's Western Australia, but it's I'm not sure where that is in the US. 206, this is the phone number. I really shouldn't bother telling you that because I'm sure there's no one manning the phones anymore. But anyhow, so this, I believe, allows you to output a black and white signal, and you can then run this on a standard display. It just outputs a mirror of the internal display. So what people used to use these for was, I remember there was a book called, I don't know if anyone else has even seen this book, there was a book called, it was like a Build a Cat Mac or something like that. It was, they named it Cat Mac, and it was like a Mac clone. And the idea was that you could take pieces of a Mac, or you could have parts of a Mac, and you could build your own Mac. And this was one of the things that they included in that you could use so that you could then run your Mac with an off-the-shelf display rather than having to go with the little 9-inch. So anyhow, Dead Mac Scrolls. Yes, Dead Mac Scrolls. That's the Larry Pina book I was thinking of. Thank you for reminding me there. And Macintosh Repair and Upgrade Secrets. And then the other one was the the Cat MacBook, which I have, not down here though. I'm pretty sure it is archived online. Someone will be able to tell me otherwise. Micro Mage Repair, hello there. Thank you for joining. So anyhow, for anyone who's just rocking up now, the story behind this is that someone reached out to contact me to see whether I would be interested in doing sort of a repair restoration on some old Macs to then potentially resell them on eBay. After some toing and froing, I then made an offer and said, look, do you want to just sell them to me all in one bundle, bang, done, easy, you know, I'll look after everything sort of thing. And they agreed, and so I went and bought 3 Macs, a Macintosh SE 800K with a 20 meg hard drive in it, this SE30, and a Centris 650. And look, the SE30 is the one that is of most interest to me. I already have an SE30, but I would like a second one. I don't need any more than 2, but you know, I would like to have 2, so this was the opportunity to get another one. So let's have a little look inside here. So I've taken that little adapter off, so I can theoretically just go in and plug this in. We've got in here what looks like the original Quantum hard drive. I think this might be one of the models that gets the sticky rubber on it, but I could be wrong. This is a 40 megabyte by the looks of it. And then we've got, yeah, everything else looks pretty much bulk standard. So what we're going to have to do now is take the board out, and then we'll just discover what are we looking at. Are we looking at a nice, beautiful, pristine SE30 that just needs a little bit of recapping, or are we going to be looking at a battery bombed mess that's going to make me cry? So I will just start working my way through here. As I've said in some of my other videos, when you're working with SE30s, if there's any doubt, if you're struggling at all, undo the screws here, take this bracket off the back. It gives you a little bit more hand room for getting into here, because you know it's really easy to then snap that off. So and you don't want to do that. I've managed to snap one just recently. I dropped something on it. It was my computer, it wasn't someone else's, but I still felt like an absolute wally. Okay, I'm taking the plug out, and there's our plug. And then I'm going to take the RF shield off. I'm not a big fan of RF shields. They kind of piss me off. I appreciate them, but I hate them. Okay, so the old SE30, if anyone has never actually taken a board out, the way these are designed, they have these little notches on the side here. So you lift up until the notches meet up, like that, and then you just pull it out from that way. And that way you can actually disconnect cables down here before pulling all the board out. This one has the thing connected to it. Now, what do we see? We see a lovely intact battery. We'll whack a multimeter on it in a moment just to see. But I have to say, this is what Happy Bruce looks like. So, because this is everything you could possibly hope for when you are dealing with these. So I'm just going to swap cameras here. We'll just jump up to the top view, there it is. And we'll just have a little look-see at this. So this looks to me like it's got 8 megabytes of RAM in it. So we've got 8 ones here. We will get rid of this battery now because, you know, every second it's in there is potential for a battery disaster. Let's see if we've got a date on this. 89. So yeah, a 1989 battery. So there you go. So these are the little lithium batteries that are the cause of much distress in the vintage computer world. I do actually have another SE30 board, just the board alone. Someone gave it to me. That is a battery bombed mess. You know, maybe a good candidate for the reloaded thing at some stage in the future, but yeah. So I'm going to put this onto a bit of the old DC voltages, and we'll just see if this has got any juice left in it at all. I mean, just for curiosity, just for shits and giggles. Okay, we have 0.12 volts. So my estimation is that this is pretty much a ticking time bomb. Now this is one of the earlier model SE30s. There are a few things you can tell about this one that instantly give it away. First of all, it is a socketed CPU with a little gold bit on the top. The later ones were actually soldered into the board. They weren't socketed, and they were all just like a black sort of ceramic finish. And Mike, hello Mike, thank you for joining. And Garrett Bunge. Sorry, I've missed all this. Yes, yay, no battery bomb. I couldn't agree more. So yes, it's socketed here. This one has a little bodge wire. You'll see there's a little blue wire running across here. In the later models, that bodge wire was gone. They sorted that out. That's a factory bodge wire. Ooh, what's that? Is that something alive? Oh, if it was, it's not anymore. And then the other telling sign with the later model of SE30s, this little capacitor here actually lives on that side of the ROM, not on this side of the ROM. So, but look, it looks pretty tidy. We'll get it under the microscope and we'll have a look in a moment, but I am feeling pretty good. Certainly wants an ultrasonic clean. This looks to me like it did get a RAM upgrade at some stage because these aren't all matching. So I'd say it probably started its life with a smaller amount and then they've gone in and upgraded it. But we'll take these off. Good old plastic clips on the side of these. Very, very easy to break, so do be careful. Oh, we saw Bruce's happy chin. That's all we saw. Oh dear, camera was in too tight, wasn't it? Jay likes it when I do like happy dances and stuff like that. You never know, there might be one of those because I am going to recap this and then I am going to fire it up. So for those who actually have the time to spare to sit here and watch me recap it, I will definitely fire this up at the end and we'll see how it goes. I've actually just got the other SE30 board that I was working on the other day out sitting in the sun at the moment. It's just curing a little bit of UV solder mask. So for those who may or may not have missed it, that was the board that started with Javier, got sent to Joe, then got sent to Steve, and then got sent to me. And now I'm going to send it back to Joe so Joe can put it back in the computer and then send the computer back to Javier. So and that one there, which I repaired, and then found that one of my wire repairs was not good enough, so I had to then go in and fix it up. Not good enough, Rain, not good enough. And so then that I've just finished putting UV mask on those little repairs. I've got to drop a battery holder into it. Then I just need to test to see that the battery, that the sort of the PRAM is actually working and that it's holding time and all that sort of stuff. So I put a new real-time clock chip on it. For those, again, who don't know this stuff, the real-time clock chip, which is just there, is actually where all of the PRAM stuff gets stored. So when you're setting your mouse speed or anything else, any of those settings that get saved when the computer gets switched off, they all get stored in that little real-time clock chip. Jason Hutchison, hello. RAM loves being thrown around. It does. Okay, come on. This one's really giving me some grief. It's that whole, enough to get it out, but not too much to break it off. And I will, as this is my computer, I can do with it what I wish. I will probably end up putting these inside. Now these are the, I did a video on these before. These are the Keros MacMods 4 megabyte sim kits. So I've got enough here to populate the whole thing. Got 8 of them, and they'll be 4s. So what is that? 32 megs of RAM. And I'll be honest, that's ample. My other SE30 has more than that in it. I don't know, 60. No, yeah. Hang on. It's got about 70 something, something like that, of RAM in there. And wow, this chip sim ain't in there too good. It doesn't look exactly matched. So what do we've got? We've got Macintosh. Look at that. Focus, 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 focus. Focus. There we go. Macintosh. Never heard of it before. There's that one. There's that one. There's, okay, they're matched. And they're matched. And there's 2 of those. And there's 3 of those. And okay, so we've got 4 of those, they're matched, they're good. Then we've got 3 of those. That's a good number to have, isn't it? And 1 of those. But as I say, these RAM sims that have the multiple chips, these are really important because some of the really early Macs, things like the Mac 2 and the Mac 2X, they don't like chips like this with only a couple on them, or sims like this with only a couple on them. So I will probably save these up and use these in a Mac 2 or a 2X or something like that. And then I'll put 4s into this one. What happened to... That's a good question. What did happen to Tasmania? For those who aren't aware, there should be a little island hanging down the bottom there. The little map of Tassie. And yeah, Tasmania didn't make it on there. Sorry, Tassie. Are you still accepting recap jobs? I have logged one with you on your site. John, the answer to that is sort of. So there's a couple of things that have happened. One, my day job got ridiculously busy and it's starting to calm down now. I had so many projects on at the same time that I was basically just working on nothing but my day job, and so it was making it very difficult for me to do recapping work. The other problem I had was that most of the work that people were sending me were really problematic jobs, things with battery damage or things that they've tried to recap themselves and failed, and then I'm having to go and do that. So every job that I had coming in was taking me twice as long as just a straight recap. And then the other problem that I had was that even though I said to people I wasn't recapping anymore, boxes kept turning up at the doorstep. So I would just end up with a box full of boards, even though I really didn't have the time to recap them. So the short answer is I sort of am taking on jobs again now, but I still have a huge backlog to get through before I can do any more. The one thing I'm not taking at the moment is whole computers. I just don't have room to store any, like things like compact Macs and stuff like that. So I just don't want things to get damaged while they're here if I can't store them properly. So I'm sort of welcome to people just sending me a board here and there. The big problem, of course, is Mac Classics, because Mac Classics these days, you're going to have to recap the analog board and the logic board. So most people, when they need a classic done, they just give me the whole computer, and then I just run out of shelf space. So anyhow, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? So the ones that have a parity chip, you can generally tell because they have 9 instead of 8. Now that's an 8. That's an 8. I think that's a 9. 3, 4, 7, 8. Yep. So that's a parity. That's a parity. So I do have a set of 4 parities. There we go. There we go. And with 1 extra. Mind you, I think that might be 8. They're just not as scrunched up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, these aren't parity. Yeah. And obviously, just got to make mention here, this is the original ROM. Of course, these days we've got lots of other options out there. We've got things like this, the Satanic Mac Club. They've got an aftermarket ROM. And then we've got this one here, which is the Big Mess of Wires aftermarket ROM. This one's waiting to go into the ultrasonic cleaner because I put a little bit of extra solder. I put little solder blobs on all the pins because I find with these, they don't make as good a contact. The board is just slightly thinner. So I just put a little bit of solder on those pins there, and it just means they get in there nice and tight, make really good contact. So that's going to get ultrasonically cleaned. And the beautiful thing about these new ROMs that are coming out, whether it be the ones from, sort of from K-Cobra or the ones from Big Mess of Wires, is most of them have a bootable section on them. So you can then boot straight from the ROM. Fantastic stuff. Hello, Co-Professor. Okay. Just checking here to see I haven't missed anything. Would you accept a board from offshore USA? It depends. It does depend. What sometimes happens when people send me stuff from overseas is to save on postage, they send me lots of things. And so I then get a whole bunch of boards from overseas, and then I might get, let's say someone sends me 4 boards. I might get 3 of them done, and then the 4th one has all these problems, and I've got to put it into the diagnostics pile. And then, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Are you going to have these 3 boards sitting here waiting for this because we want to save on postage and put them all together? Or are we going to send you the 3 working ones back now and then send you the last one as a separate postage and split it up? Yeah, that is one of the things that does happen when people send me stuff from overseas. But having said that, there really should be no need to send anything to me, because we've got, you know, we've got people in the US that are doing, you know, this sort of stuff. So Steve's a little bit under the pump at the moment, so I'm not sure I'd recommend Steve without his say-so. But certainly someone like Joe, who was in the chat before, he does great work. So, right, going to jump across to the scope view now, and we're going to whip some caps off. This is the way I take caps off. You do not have to do it the way I do it, but this is the way I do it. I don't twist and pull. The main reason why I don't do it is because I have had to repair quite a few boards where someone has twisted and pulled a pad off. Especially with something this old, I'll be a bit worried about that. So I'll be doing this with hot air. I've got a little heat shield here, which is just a little blade from a box cutter, and I'll just put that in between the caps and the plastic, and I might even just get a bit of Captain tape here as well as an extra backup. This is this heat resistant tape, and I'll just wrap it around the plastic of this power connector, this main umbilical power connector thingy. There, this is the main plug, and we'll drop that in and we'll start taking these off. Now with these earlier ones, you'll notice there's nothing written on the top of these caps. They're just completely blank, and that's because all the information about these caps is actually on a yellow sticker wrapped around the cap, and that yellow sticker is now going to melt and stick to my tweezers, so just be ready for lots of swearing. Nice to SE everyone today. Boom, boom. I think I had one of the Macs back in the day. We had a Mac that came out in the late 80s, and it was the same form factor. Yeah, so, you know, you've got the original Macintosh 128K, and then you've got the 512K, and then you've got the 512KE, and then you've got the Mac Plus, and then you've got the SE, and you've got the SE30, and then of course you've got the Classic and the Classic 2. Have I missed any in that form factor? I mean, there's obviously Color Classic, but I'm not sure if that one counts because that looks very different. Probably, depending on who you were and what you were doing with it, some of the most common ones you would have expected to see out there is the Plus, the SE, or the Classic. They're probably the ones, you know, there were so many of those sold. SE30s are a little bit rarer because they cost a packet to buy back in the day. They were thousands of dollars because they were a pretty amazing piece of hardware for the time. All right, time to remove some caps. This computer does also have a couple of axial electrolytic capacitors. They're the ones where the wire comes out both sides, as opposed to a radial where both wires come out one side. And although I will be replacing these, I won't be replacing them for today's test because typically those old caps, they test pretty much in spec even after all these years. So, oh, this one's about to blow. So today it will just be about replacing the surface mount aluminium electrolytic. I will be replacing them with tantalums because, well, tantalums don't leak. Now, in all truth, if I was to be putting modern day surface mount electrolytics, we're probably not going to end up with the same sort of leakage issues that we're talking about here because they are made a lot better these days. And then, of course, you can use hybrid ones. See, these ones originally used a liquid electrolyte. The later hybrid ones, they use a powder. And so they don't have the same leakage issues. Right, let's get this cap off now. This is the one that's sitting just above the PDS slot. So far, there is nothing here that scares me. I haven't done the danger spots yet, but really, everything I'm looking at so far here, new cap, ultrasonic clean, this thing will be as good as new. Come on. When you are using hot air station on these sorts of old computers, do look out for these solder balls that sometimes form because the solder is crusty on the top and then the liquid underneath melts and squeezes through the crust and you get little solder balls all over the place. And solder balls can be a little on the nasty side. Get stuck in things, and the next thing you know, someone's sending a board all the way from the US to Australia just for me to discover a solder ball wedged between two pins. Not that that's ever happened. Never happened. Steve, hello there. Welcome to the live stream. What you been up to, Steve? Give good hot tweezers a try some. Yeah, the hot tweezers, the only reason why I don't actually have some hot tweezers is because I would actually have to go in and buy the whole thing. The Hakko FX951 soldering station that I use is not compatible with the Hakko soldering tweezers. You need a different base unit, a significantly more expensive base unit. So I could just go out and buy solder tweezers as a separate thing, which I may end up doing one day. There have been times where I've sort of been like, yeah, I think I would have liked solder tweezers to do this, but it's not it's not, put it this way, it's not at the top of my priority list. But I definitely accept, I see the advantage in using them. LMNO actually did very well and went out and got, I think it was, you got like a bunch of second-hand soldering gear. It's absolute top of the line stuff that you've got for a steel, because it was being sold second-hand. I think, if I remember correctly, that was the case. And so, so LMNO has some really flash gear, way flasher than mine. Ow! Is what I always say to people. It's never the soldering iron I burn myself on. It's the things that get hot from the hot air station or the soldering iron. When I burn myself on tweezers or on bits of solder wick or, you know, that sort of thing. That's my multimeter putting itself to sleep. Metcal, yeah. Chasing my brother's kids. Oh, lucky you, must be exhausted. Chasing kids has got to be one of the most exhausting things you can ever do. I know this is a bit of a, you know, out of left field thing, but you know, one of the things that I find absolutely exhausting when I have to do it, meetings. Meetings really take it out of me. There are often times where I have to go to meetings and I get home after a meeting. So I work from home for the most part. So usually these days it's just Zoom meetings. But when I have to go out to meetings, I usually get back and I'm absolutely exhausted. I need a nana nap. I'm just going to take this off without the heat shield. Now these caps are very stinky to remove, so we do know that they're leaking, so they certainly do need to be replaced. Make no mistake. Sean is here. Hello there, Sean. Incidentally, Sean, I definitely owe you an apology about that thing that I was going to make a video on, but I still haven't done yet. What I would say is, if you do want to make a video on that thing, I'm happy for you to do it. I will probably make one as well when I get a chance. But I've actually got some videos I have to make at the moment that I have to do in a timely fashion to satisfy commercial agreements. So that other video that I really want to do, desperately want to do, is actually going to have to wait a little bit. And so if it is something that you would like to do, we had our little gentleman's agreement there. I am happy if you would like to do a video. I really don't mind. I don't mind if yours comes out first or anything like that. So just saying, just in case you're looking for material, which I imagine you're probably not, but you might be. Oops. Oh, I dropped my tweezers. This is what happens with that yellow sticky stuff. When you're trying to shake off the sticky stuff, you end up shaking off the whole tweezers instead. Why are the caps blank unmarked? Thomas, I was actually mentioning this just a little while ago. They're not actually unmarked at all. These earlier ones have the information on the side. So you can see there's a little yellow sticker on the side. All the information about the cap is there. If I just move this slightly, so if we were to, I don't know if we'll be able to see it. This is still one cap left on the board. You can see there it is there. 40, oh, now you can. 47 microfarad, 16 volt, 85 degrees C. There you go. So these older caps on these earlier model computers, you'll only see these sorts of caps, I think, on Mac 2, SE30. You might see them on a 2X, but anything newer than that, they've then got the printing on the top. I don't like these ones because the yellow sticker melts and then sticks to your tweezers. But Thomas Armstrong, hello there. What time do you call this, Thomas? If anyone is wondering why I'm streaming on, well, it's Thursday here, I imagine Wednesday for a lot of people viewing, it is because I got hold of this computer today and I was going to open it up and do this to it, and I thought, may as well stream. In other words, I wasn't going to wait until one of my normal streaming times. It was going to be done today no matter what. So switch the camera on. Why not? Stinky. Right, that is the last of the caps off. Thankfully the SE30 is not one with a whole lot of caps, so it's a pretty easy, quick, easy recap job. And they're not too close together or anything like that. But we will need to do a little bit of cleaning first because we got to sell some gunk here. It's really common for a lot of, still hot, really common for a lot of these sorts of traces to be corroded and damaged. Most of the SE30s that I work on do have corrosion and damage around this area. This is right near the sound chip, so there's your two sound chips there. There's a left channel and a right channel. I may have pointed the wrong ones when I said that. Down here we've got little VRAM chips there. These are all things that I keep stock of because they're very common failure points. Same with this whole row. This whole row, which is the, what is it, U8 row. So it's UA, UB, UC, UD, UE, UF, UG8. Common failure point in particular around all of these traces and stuff. This one doesn't look too bad, but so yeah, again, they're all things that have to keep stock of when you're working on these. I can smell that video. Yep. Anyone who's ever worked on one of these before knows the smell. They know the smell, and it stays in your nostrils for quite a little while afterwards too. Now I am going to clean these pads up. I want to get them all nice and shiny so that they'll take on my new solder, and I'm going to do that with a combination of flux, heat and fresh solder and solder wick. So I will dump a bunch of fresh solder on here and swizzle it around. Oh, sorry, the iron is still heating up. Swizzle it around. I want to get to a point where the solder is sitting on these pads edge to edge. I don't want any part of the pad that's not accepting solder. And then once I know it's happening edge to edge, and I can be pretty happy that this is all good to go. I have to do this for all of them. Fun and games. And then I do the last bit with some solder wick. I really did burn myself before, ouch. That's not solder wick, that's an empty spool. And naturally to some plastics could also be cigarette glaze. Yeah, so this case, if you're talking about the yellowing of the case on this, hang on, worst case of yellowing I've ever seen, it's practically orange. Yeah, so this is a very mustardy coloured one, but the interesting thing is that, what am I, oh that's right, this has got that stupid cable hanging off it. Come on, out! I managed to put the computer down on top of the cable from the back of the case. But I was just showing this before at the beginning of the video. If we have a look at this, if we have a look at this here, you can see that two-tone effect there. So whatever was going on the top of the computer wasn't going on at the bottom of the computer. We've got this little graduation of colour going just right around the base, and underneath is actually still quite platinumy. Is that a word? Platinumy? Alright, let's get back to the old scope view. I'm referring to as my recent 512K acquisition. That's pretty good. Is it an original 512K with the 400K floppy drive? Or is it the later 512KE with the 800K floppy drive? I know that from a collector's point of view, the original 512K is probably worth more, but from a practical use standpoint, I reckon the 512KE is one that you can probably get more practical use from. That's just my opinion. Krishna Draws, hello. Popping in now for a long absence. Thank you very much for joining again. More Classic Macs getting rescued and revived. Yeah, well this one here, I saved it in the nick of time. The battery was still intact. It had 0.2 volts left in it. And generally once they get down to that, you can expect an explosion any day. So very, very pleased, because I did take a significant financial risk on this one. I paid ultimately more than someone should pay for a computer that they don't know what it's like inside. And so I was feeling, up until I had a chance to look at this, I was feeling like I might have ended up having a really bad day. But not feeling too bad now. Got a little black line there between, you can see between that trace and the pad. I don't think that's actually a break in continuity. I suspect with a little scrape we'll expose some copper, but still need to check it. Yeah, there's no break there. So let's just put that on there. Anytime we expose some copper, we do need to cover it, because it will corrode with time, whether it be tinning it with a bit of solder or whether it be coating it with a bit of UV mask. Has to be done. Has to be done. I'm using Amtech flux here. I've done a few videos on Amtech flux. I like the Amtech flux. This one I'm using in particular, which is the NC559 ASM-TF, is probably my favorite. It's just the right balance for me, but flux can be very much a personal thing. There are people out there that really like fluxes that I've tried and can't stand. So I can only recommend based on my criteria. Peroxide-free retro-bright method, interesting. It's not something that I've ever bothered to do. I don't care enough really about it, as long as the plastic is intact. I don't mind if it's yellow. I definitely see the appeal of them being shiny and new. I got hold of a Macintosh 2CI case that had been stored in a box. Unfortunately, the whole thing had been stored in a box and the battery had blown up and had destroyed the floppy drive and destroyed the logic board. But that's another story. But the case, it's definitely salvageable. And I already had a 2CI in just a normal yellow case. And I have to say, when you set that 2CI up in its beautiful, vibrant platinum, it is very nice. But I hear of people having failures with retro brighting. I'm just not sure I want to go down that path. Just, yeah, as I say, learn to embrace the beige. These ones are a little bit crusty, but again, no real trace damage to speak of. Just checking. Original 512K, it was a deal I couldn't pass up. Yeah, look, I bought a 512 years ago, and I thought I was getting an original 512. And then I fired it up. It just worked straight away. Or did it? I might have needed to replace that resistor that sometimes blows on the analog board. But anyhow, I fired it up, got it working. I was like, this is great. I've got to go floppy in it. I don't have any 400K floppies. What am I going to do? And I was like, I'm just going to chuck in an 800K floppy. And it was like system 607 or something, or 604. And it just fired up. And I'm like, hey, yo. So I started reaching out to people, because at the time I wasn't as versed in a lot of this vintage Mac stuff as I am now. And I started reaching out to people and I said, yeah, you've got a 512K that has been upgraded to a 512KE, because it wasn't labeled as a 512KE. And they said, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't, that's fine, but expect it to fetch the value of a 512KE, not a 512K, if you ever want to resell it. Which I will never, ever. Sold too much stuff and have too many regrets to sell anything ever again. Except for the stuff I have multiples of. I don't want to steal all the fun. I've got to make sure that I'm sharing some of my stuff with other people. I've told this story many times before, so people who have watched my streams before will know this, but I had two Macintosh 2CIs. I really wanted a 2CX. So I reached out and this guy contacted me. He said, I've got two 2CXs, but I don't have a 2CI. And I said, well, if you want to swap, I'll send you a 2CI. You send me a 2CX. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And we did that, just straight swap. Just posted him the 2CI. Now, I know the 2CI is a better computer than the 2CX, but when it comes to collecting things, it's not about that. It's about having the pair, you know, having the 2CX and the 2VI. One of the big problems I have with this case is it's got a couple of Apple Apple stickers on it, you know, the rainbow stickers on the side. So we know that if I lift those off, we're going to have, you know, a little apple-shaped platinum spot on the side. So I'm undecided at this stage what I'll do. Will I leave it on there, leave the stickers on there, or will I take them off and have that blodge of platinum on the side? Oopsie. I think I'll probably leave the stickers on. Maybe. Oh, I haven't got my fume extractor on. See, Jay normally reminds me of that. Where's Jay? Jay's like, hey, all that smoke's going straight up into your face. Do you have your fume extractor on? Jay is preoccupied working on some farm equipment. I knew that Jay would be quiet tonight because he was in the garage doing a bit of work. 2 more to clean up and then we can start plonking some new caps on here. Oh, Steve, I'm not sure if you were here before for this, but look what was inside this Mac, if I can find it. If you're still here, Steve, if you're not still here, I won't show you, but Steve, if you are still here, let me know, and I'll show you the thing that was inside this Mac. It's nothing wild, it's fairly plain, but, you know, still think it would be of interest to you. Down here. I've got a sneaking suspicion that if I'd have just plugged this Mac in, it might have just worked. May not have had any sound. The SE30 was actually the computer that got me reinvigorated into the Macintosh collecting. I had a Plus, I got hold of a Plus, and I did a video on it. It's one of the oldest videos on my channel, so set expectations accordingly if you decide you want to watch it. And I basically just open it up on video and have a little bit of a chat about it and the specs and all that sort of stuff. And it's got to be 10 years old now, something like that. And then I made contact with someone else where I did a straight swap deal with them. And they gave me an SE30 in return for a whole bunch of parts for clone Macs. So I gave him a whole stack of RAM and cards and things like that. And I was going to do a video on the SE30. I was actually in the middle of filming it when one of the caps fell off the logic board. And I was like, what? And that was when I started doing a little bit of research and found out all about recapping. And that was a few years ago now. I have, what is it, my Mac, I think it's my Mac Plus has the, my Mac Plus has an apple coloured blotch of titanium on it. I've got a real soft spot for the Plus, mainly because it is the first Mac with SCSI, and for me, SCSI was kind of like a pretty groundbreaking moment for Apple in terms of their computers. As someone who worked with computers professionally from 1989, you know, SCSI just became a part of our lives. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. You love it when it's all working perfectly. You hate it when you're sitting there with SCSI conflicts, or you're having to shuffle things around, or trying to find better shielded cables and stuff like that. Just cleaning up some of the excess flux here with a toothbrush, so they're all looking nice and shiny. And then I will start putting some new caps on. Now, if my recollection serves, they're all 47 microfarad 16 except for one, which is a 1 microfarad 50. Now, I do have a recapping guide, and I do have a whole series of recapping guides on recapamac.com.au. It's there for anyone who wants it. The main reason why the website started wasn't actually to do recapping guides. That was something that came afterwards. What I really wanted was I wanted a sort of repository of really good high resolution images of Mac logic boards. Because I had been searching for some, I've been trying to find images and I couldn't get any. So as I started getting boards getting sent to me for repair, I just started photographing them, with a good quality digital SLR and with some really good lighting, and making sure they're all nice and sharp, and then posting them, so that they're available. And then it's like, well, the recapping guides were kind of the next best, or the next thing, the next progression. I'm just trying to find my SE30 in here. I do have a system in this guidebook that I've made for myself. I just don't remember what the system is. So when it actually comes to finding the board that I want, I pretty much just have to look through every single page. It's a 2CI. Oh, this is all the SE30 section I've got. Nope. Okay. All right. So unless there's something wrong with my brain. Oh no, there it is. There it is. So yeah, one microfarad 50 and 10 47/16s. There are of course these axial caps as well, but I'm not going to replace them for the purpose of testing today. That will come afterwards, because doing them is really boring. Threw out my SA30 because it had bad CRT. Never thought I'd learn how to fix it. Yeah. Recapped the SE30 back in 2007. Yeah, I can't try to. That's probably around about the time I did mine, to be honest. Might have been. It would be very close to that, I suspect. I had a massive purge of 2003. So in 2003, I decided there was really no reason for me to hang on to all these vintage Macs. And I sold a lot of my Mac collection. Now, they weren't necessarily this sort of vintage. They were a little bit newer. I had a whole stack. Probably the oldest Mac that I sold would have been an LC475, and that had a bloody 2E card in it. I sold that. What an idiot. I mean, how hard is it to store a 475? Come on. It's so small. Could have just kept it. But I had, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 G4 Macs. What were they called? I can't remember the name of them. But the first of the G4, the grey ones. I had some G3 blue and whites. Virtually all of them had zip drives in them. And I got a whole stack of them. I got I don't know, 7 or 8 of them. I got them for free. So I sold those. I sold a mirror drive door. I sold a whole stack of power computing computers, including the one that I bought with my own money, which is just stupid, which was the Power Tower Pro 200, I think it was. So, yeah. And then, some of these things I've ended up having to go in and buy back later on. So, crazy. But I suppose going through that, it makes sure that I won't ever sell any of these things again, because of the regret that I felt some years later on when I was like, oh my God, if I just kept that. I nearly sold one of my laptops. It was a Wall Street or, I don't know, one of those G3 laptops. I don't remember which one. It wasn't the Kanga, but it was one of the ones that came after that. No, I nearly sold that on eBay. And then I changed my mind at the last minute. And I'm glad I did, because I still have it. This cap, I really should go with a slightly smaller form factor for this one. This is a big old cap for the size of these pads. And I think the next batch that I buy, I will get smaller ones. I mean, it's not like they can't be soldered or anything like that. It's just easier to have the smaller ones. And they work just as well. They're just a different size package. Okay, and we're on. So that's on. Generally just give them a little bit of a tap from both sides to make sure they're hooked on. I can tell you guys what the very first computer that I ever owned was. A Dick Smith VZ200. You will never have heard of it unless you're Australian. It was a Laser 2000 repackaged by an Australian seller. as the VZ200, and it had colour, but the colour was a real bodge job added to it later on. And there's this little board floating off the top of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I'm doing something here that I generally try not to do, and I'm getting all the caps out in one go. Now, everyone knows why I don't like to do that, and that is when my back is turned, the capacitor fairies come and steal the capacitors away from me. So I try and just take them out a little bit at a time as I need them, so that we're not tempting the capacitor fairies. But fingers crossed today, I haven't had any capacitor fairy action for a while, so hopefully all these caps here will stay and I won't lose any. One of the things that I've got a video about what to do if recapping doesn't work. It's just a bit of a guide for people to sort of check for things, and this is a classic example of where you can run into some strife. You've got this narrow pad here, which is designed for an electrolytic cap. You've got this wide pad here on this tantalum cap. When I solder that on, stay still. When I solder that on, you can see it hangs over the edge. And you can see there's a trace running right down parallel here. Now, if I had scraped away some of that UV mask and I went to go plonk this on top, I could easily create a bridge there. Is anyone else, can you guys hear the chickens? One of my chickens is making a lot of noise at the moment. I don't know if you can hear it. It is a tantalum cap. I have one chicken in particular that just likes to every now and again go on a bit of a rant and just go off and make lots of noise and annoy me and annoy the neighbours and all that sort of stuff. Drives me bonkers. I should actually really give a shout out to Steve, who is currently shortening his life working on another SE30 that someone has sent him, and it is giving him all sorts of grief. He's having RAM tests failing sometimes. He's got SCSI not working. He's got serial not working, and yeah, it's certainly one that I'm glad I'm not working on. I know he wants me to say to him, you know what, Steve, you just need to do this and then to do that. But I got no idea. It's going to be a nightmare. Sorry, Steve. God, shut up, chicken. What do you hope to achieve, chicken? If I was just in the country, I'd be like, who cares if the chicken's making noise? Let it. But when you're in suburbia, which I am, you know, you have a noisy chicken, you think, oh, poor neighbours. Now, it is a weekday, so there's probably not that many people at home. But for any that are, I do feel sorry for them. I'm just going to straighten this guy up a little bit, because I did. There we go. Got to be straight. They can buy earplugs. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad when you're in the house. You can't hear them that badly, but if you're outside, you can. Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, just based on what I've seen of that board so far, Steve, based on what we saw around the SCSI chip, you're just going to have to hunt for more of that. You know, just going to have to just keep inspecting all the bottoms of all those PLCC chips, because I just think you're going to find the same little breaks on other ICs as you found on that SCSI chip. Ultrasonic is happening tonight. Good place to start. When I'm doing these ones here, I work very hard to make sure that they line up, because I can tell you, if you go put these down, and you don't line them up, boy oh boy does it stand out. You'll be looking at it for years to come going, oh, they don't line up. Okay. Whoopsie. Come on. There we go. Okay, do they line up? What do you reckon? Do they line up? Oh, one's slightly higher than the other. Will it be something that I look at for years? Oh, no, it's even worse than that. Look, I've got two different types of cap here. Well, they're certainly from different batches anyway. Because this one looks a little bit... This one looks brighter than that one. The line's a little bit closer to there than it is here. Oh, I'm just going to have to live with it. I'm just going to have to live with it. It's mine. I wouldn't let it go out like that to a customer, but I can live with it. Got the three here. Garth is here. Hello there, Garth. Now, Garth, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it your board that someone was working on recently? Was that Steve's? Was the one Steve working on? Was that is that the one that Steve's working on? Is that Garth's board? Wee. Didn't see me else. So Garth, what was I looking at recently? Oh, no. Oh, Justin. Yes, that's right. Justin has an LC. That's right, the LC1. Yes, indeed. And it's not working or something, is it? There's problems with it, if I remember rightly. Because one of the big problems that happens with a lot of these streams that happen, they usually happen in US evening, which is in the middle of my workday. And so I'll often tune into a live stream, and then all of a sudden I get phone calls from customers, or I have to go to a meeting, or whatever the case is. And so I duck off, and I miss big chunks of the live streams. But yeah, so it was, so it's your LC with Justin at the moment. Yeah. I think I mentioned this recently. I had a customer. I did recapping for them in exchange for some computers, and I got a few LCs in that lot. I got an LC2, and I got an LC3, I think. And I might have even got another LC2. I think I got two of one of them. But anyhow, I love the original LC. Not to use, they're a dog. They're so slow. I mean, I suppose they're fine under System 6, but you know, I mean, it's you might be able to get a reasonable game of Warlords or Civilization running on them, but yeah, I mean, they're very cute. But I love the original LC, the way it has the two holes for floppies at the front. And I love the fact that you can, in this day and age, using a blue SCSI, set it up with two floppy drives and a hard drive inside. That is just the coolest. That is what I love about the LC. Bing, bing, bing. Oh, I missed this. I didn't solder this side. What an idiot. Some kind of idiot. Stupid, as I do say sometimes. Okay, there's three on there. I have to reach out to Joe and see if he can fix it. Oh, Garth. Gotta run. See you, Garth. Supper's ready. Don't want to miss that supper. I had a big breakfast today, so I think I should be fine. Probably until dinner time. I might have a little bit of a snack this afternoon. Okay, we've got 3 more left. We've got one here, sitting next to the CPU. Isn't it great that these SE30s have this PDS slot, you know, that allow you to put all sorts of cool stuff in there. Wonderful fun. Will there be some V2 stock in your store at some point in the future? Yes, there will. So I had a little bit of a, what would you call it? I don't know what you'd call it. A little bit of a moment recently. I was really struggling with work. And of course I also have certain commercial obligations with the YouTube channel of producing content at a certain rate, or producing content of certain things in a timely fashion. And then I've got the online store as well, and everything was just kind of stacking up, and I wasn't really coping. And I really started to, this isn't flux, this is thermal paste, and the two are not interchangeable. I really started wondering whether I was even going to keep the store going. I thought, you know what, I think I might just shut this down. This is getting too hard. But anyhow, I took a little break, a couple of weeks. I didn't have any stock, so you know, no one could order anything. And I know that's not very professional, I accept that, but you know, this is not a full-time pursuit for me. I don't sell enough of these to actually make it really financially worth my while. The orders come through so infrequently here in Australia that we're talking about a huge amount of work in comparison to the amount of money I make. The reason I do it in support of the local Australian vintage computer community. I want them to be able to have somewhere local they can buy these things. That is really the only reason I do it. And so, yeah, so, but anyhow, I did have a good old think about it, and I have decided that I will keep selling it. I've got, coming fairly soon, I've got new Zulus. So I've got the new Zulu, Zulu RP2040, and the Zulu Mini RP2040, and then I will be getting some of the new blue SCSIs as well, the V2s. I've still got some V1s here. I will sell them to people if they want them. They are still fully functional. If they don't want them, I'm going to make them all up and use them in my Macs, because most of the Macs I've got are so old that they're not even going to take advantage of the new RP2040 chips. I will be, yeah, I mean, really, let's face it, if you're working with an old 030 Mac or 020 or 000, a little blue SCSI version 1 or whatever it is it 1.1 or 1 or whatever it is ample. I like the new one with the speed, but I don't have that many Macs that would fully take advantage of that speed. You might notice it in some of the 040s. Okay, KMac, what have you got that in? What sort of computer was that in? It's a classic chime screen comes up, but SCSI won't boot. Okay, yeah, so the classic doesn't have a SCSI fuse on it, so on some of the older ones the SCSI is not working because the fuse is blown, but that's not the case with the classic. So you could either have, it could just be gunk, or it could be a dead SCSI chip. I've had that before. That's recapped, so let's just change camera views here to the top view. I have my name. What am I fixing? You're fixing everything, Joe. We want you to fix everything. I was suggesting that you, I think someone here was saying that they had an SE30. Yeah, there it is. Krishna was actually saying he's got an SE30 that needs some work done. And of course your name came up. So let's just check and see I've got all these right. Having the right caps in the right place is generally fine because there's only 2 different types of cap on here. But I do want to check that I've got the polarities right on all of them. I always like to check that before I actually fire it up. One of my really, really early recaps that I did, I forgot that the stripe was on the wrong side, or the striper's on the different side to an electrolytic cap. And I managed to recap a computer with every single cap on backwards. And I thought, that's impressive. That's got to count for something. That was, a long time ago now. Now the computer didn't work, but in my defense, the computer didn't work before either, so. Alright. Okie dokie. Alright. Now. Yeah, yes, one of the first computers that I think started getting a heatsink on the chip would have probably been the Quadra 700, or the Quadra range, the 700 and maybe the 800. They had a fairly modest little heatsink that would sit on top of them, if I remember rightly. We're going to just fire this up with 4, mainly because I can't be bothered sticking 8 chips in. And I mean that most sincerely. Let's pop the ROM in. I'm not bothering to clean this very much. It may not work with all the gunk on it, but we'll try. And we'll use the 4 that are matched here. How about that? 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I can count. I watched Sesame Street when I was young. My 800 and 840 have heat sinks. How many of them work, Steve? What a terrible dig. I know the 800 works mostly. My 800 works mostly. And the 840 is closer to working than it was a couple of years ago. Let's just say that. Greg Brady is here. Hello. Streaming on a school night. Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Who would have known? So, yeah, this is not my normal thing, but I mentioned this at the beginning of the video that I got hold of an SE30 today. I bought it in a lot of some other computers. Not many. There's an SE and an SE30 and a Centrus 650. And I knew nothing about it. It had not been opened since it would have had its RAM upgrade done however many years ago. And I was going to open it up today to have a look inside, see if it was battery bombed, see what the state of it was, see if it was a corroded mess or whether it might actually be something salvageable. And I was going to open it today no matter what, because I just got it today. And I thought, well, may as well stream it while I'm doing it. So here is the chassis. Nothing else has been recapped on it, but you know, that's all right. I'm going to get the old, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to put the board in. I'm not even going to do the testing outside. I'm going to say I am so confident that this is going to work that I am actually going to put it all back together. Wouldn't be the first time my confidence was not rewarded, but we'll try anyway. Okay, flat on his face. Whoopsie. Probably better off to do a side view for this, I reckon. I'll break more stuff that way. There we go. Pushing it in with my fat gut. There we go there. I'll plug this in here. Come on, get in there. There we go. You can do it. You can do it. See, look at the confidence that I have. But I'm just putting this thing back together. Go. I got it jammed. There we go. I'm curious to see whether the hard drive spins up. The guy actually said to me, because he gave me a bunch of floppy disks as well, he said, look, that's all data from my old business. He said, there's really nothing in there of any, you know, secure nature or anything like that anymore. So don't really need to worry because it's all the data's so old. But having said that, if I do find any of his data on there, I will remove it because that's what I do. I'm not a snoop. I'm not a sticky beak, as we say here in Australia. I will preserve the privacy of the previous owner, and if there is anything on here of a private nature, it will be deleted. Okay, have a look. Okay, Steve's here now, so I can definitely show. Steve, look what was in this. Look what was in this. It's one of these. Do you remember this from that, like, build your own Mac book, that Cat Mac book that was around. I think we talked about this at some stage. Well, this had one of them in there. So how about that? Well, how about that? Stuck in a Chemberley. Right, so check and make sure that everything's plugged in. As usual, the anode cap on the CRT is sticky. That happens a lot. First of all, we're going to see if this hard drive fires up. So we'll see if it does actually boot off the original drive. I give that about a 1 in 4 chance. All right, so there we go. Now I think the camera's still on 60 frame a second sync, so we shouldn't see flickery. If it works. I really should just stop being so cocky and say if it works. Let's get a keyboard plugged in there. Let's get a mousey. Here's a mousey. There we go. So this is test number 1 through the hard drive. If all goes well and the eject mechanism isn't stuffed in this, it should spit this disk out. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful, glorious chime sound. How nice is that? Nice and loud. Brightness is up a fair bit here. No, yep, there we go. That's the highest brightness. This is pretty heavily out of focus. We've got some burn in at the top here. Quite noticeable burn in of the menu bar, but I can live with that. And it is very, very blurry. Now on these, it can just be a matter of focusing here, but another common point of failure on these is that you do sometimes end up with, yeah, I don't think this drive even spun up. You do sometimes end up with one of the resistors on the analog board going, and I've got a video on that if anyone ever wants to check it out, showing which resistor it is. So if you have a focus that's just staying out of focus and you can't refocus it, there's a resistor you can replace that will generally bring that back to life. So just going to grab a screwdriver here to see if it does focus. 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 Oh God, I need my special glasses. I've got special glasses made up for this sort of stuff. There we go. It ejected the disk fine, so that's good. It will probably work off a floppy. There we go. Straight up and down. Wow, this screwdriver is a minced mess. Yeah, okay, focus. Focus is sort of working. Yeah, it's all right. I think that resistor is probably still okay. Swapping glasses again. So I'm going to just try a couple of things here, see if I can get this hard drive working. I'm going to unplug it and plug it in. The power, that is. It's not a good idea to do that while it's on, but I'm doing it anyway. It's doing nothing. It's not even spinning up at all. So I'm going to say that this hard drive is pretty stuffed. So what do we do when we think something is stuffed? We open it up. So good news in this regard. The board works, the sound works, it starts up. I mean, I can plug in a thing. I've got a thing here somewhere with a system, and I'll do that in a minute. But I do want to take the hard drive out, and we'll see if it might be one of those ones where the rubber inside it has gone sticky, and the head banging on the table. I love these all these violent suggestions. I've actually got quite a few spare SCSI drives, but I'll be honest, I don't put spinners in these anymore. I mean, I totally understand the appeal of having an original spinner that has the sound and everything, but I am so heavily focused on the computers just working that I much prefer to put in the modern emulators, whether it be a Blue SCSI or whether it be a SCSI to SD or a Zulu SCSI, whatever happens to be on hand. I used to build my own SCSI to SDs before Blue SCSI arrived. Blue SCSI, of course, made the job a whole lot easier. But I used to build my own SCSI to SDs with all the little surface mount components and stuff. And now I'm going to take my own advice today. And before I remove the unit holding the drives, I'm going to take this little bracket off. What happens when the CRT sources disappear? Well, there are actually some things going on at the moment. You know, I think I've seen on things like this on Tinker Different, where people are making things like this sort of thing that allow you to connect it up to like a standard video signal, so that you can then connect, you know, maybe a modern LCD or something like that to it. Who's at the door? Who's at the door? Someone at the door. Anyone ever watch that show? Let's check and make sure that someone's going to get the door. Oh, it's a bloody survey. You can piss off, mate. It's someone with a clipboard. I really don't want to go answer that. My wife might, but I hope she doesn't. Someone with a friggin' clipboard. Don't want to talk to someone with a clipboard. Okay, so now that we've got that bracket out of the way, this is a little bit easier to access because we've got a bit more space up here. Let's change views. Yeah, top view is probably a bit better for this. New CRT and 9-inch are being made. Oh, really? Are you serious? Who on earth would do that? Come on. I'm going to take the little thingy off the back so give it a little bit more room here. Okie dokie. Big old clunker. I love the lights though. That is something I miss from sort of, you know, the Macs that came later on. They stopped giving you lights on the hard drive activity. And I liked hard drive activity lights. Frank, thanks for joining. Enjoy your sleep. RGB to HDMI box to get video out of SEs. It's a bit of a mess, but works. Yes, it's the sort of thing that I imagine at some stage in the future, one of the many incredibly clever people in the vintage Mac community are going to, you know, sort that sort of stuff out. They're going to make a little thing that you'll just plug in, a little thing like this. You'll just plug in, and then you'll have an output. And you'll be able to just connect it up to RGB or HDMI or something like that. And then you can just have whatever display you want. How good would that be? That broke. All right, so here is my hard drive, a big Quantum Pro drive. And we are going to take the top off. There's a video of a guy explaining the situation with the little rubber bumper in some of these drives that makes the head stick. And when he's taking the screws out of the top case, I think it might even be an Australian, but I could be wrong. When he's taking the screws out of the top of the case, he's using this tiny, weeny little screwdriver, and it's frustrating to watch. It's like, you got the wrong screwdriver. Right, now, is there a screw underneath that? Let's have a look. Warranty void if seal broken. Yeah, the warranty is going to be even more void after doing what I'm about to do. I'll ring them back up. Hello, Quantum. Quantum. Anything under that? That's just a hole. Quantum, no more. What do I need? Let's, these pliers might actually be able to do this. Or not. I need stronger pliers, and I do have a pair. They're just here. They fell down the other day. There we go. There we go. Okie dokie. So, time to lift the lid on this thing. Let's see what we have inside. Now, this is not a dust-free environment. This is not about trying to repair this drive for any sort of long-term preservation. Generally, this sort of thing that I'm doing is just to see if you can get the drive up and running to get some data off it. I have done this before and it worked. And as soon as I got the data off, there was nothing of value on there, but as soon as I got the data off, I threw the drive away. It's got something floating around in here. There's that little sort of moisture sucker-upper thingy. Right, what do we got here? Do we have the rubber bumper? Well, let's give it some power first and see what happens. What's the easiest way for me to get some power to this? Yeah, here we go. This'll do. This crappy old power supply. It'll do. There we go. This is the one I use for firing up my Mac 2. Mac 2, 2X, 2FX. Works the same. Okay, plug it in. Plug it in. Let's see what it does. Dead. Oh! I think Elemino was right. I should have just banged it on the table. Okay, so let's just check now. Just needed a wake-up call. Is this sticking? I don't think it is. I don't think it is actually sticking to the rubber bumper, so I'm just going to stick the lid on and we'll try it again. Because that's how I roll, man. Do-do. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. We'll move to the do-do part of the live stream. Anyone who's ever watched any of Joe's live streams, I'll mention his voice again, so he'll go, what? What? Anyone who's ever watched any of Joe's live streams will know the do-do section of the live stream, where you're doing things and you start going do-do-do, or the doobie-doo section. Doobie-doobie-doo. All right, let's see if we can get this to spin up and maybe even boot. Yeah. We have a bit of a space issue here today, and yes, my workshop table is very messy. I'm well aware of it. I do not need to be reminded. Now, if this does boot up, let's imagine it does, what OS do you reckon is going to be on here? Let's place your bets. So, some flavor of 6, 7.0, 7.1, or 7.5. Place your bets. I'll be very interested to know what people's opinions are on that matter. System 7, okay, Eric's saying 7.01, Mike's going for a 6.08, Joe's going for a variation of 6, Steve's saying 7.1, Jay is saying 10.4 Tiger, because that's the sort of thing Jay says. 7.01, 6.04, 7 of 9. She is still hot, I just got to say. I was watching a little bit of she was in Picard, which I'm not a huge fan of that series, to be honest, so I apologise to anyone who is a fan of Picard, the TV series. But damn, that woman is still smoking hot. Okay. Hang on, sorry, I bumped the mouse and now I've got something happening on screen and now I can't find my cursor. There it is. System of a Down. Yes, indeed. So we're expecting system, we've got system 6, we've got system 701, we've got 7.1, 7.5, or system of a down. Oh, get in there, you thing, you, with your thing. I wasn't plugged in far enough. Okay, now after this, one way or the other, I will probably be ending the stream now. How long have I been going? Soon, anyway. I've been going for an hour and a half. I said this would be a short stream, and for me, generally, normal time is around about 2 hours. So if I get under 2 hours, then it's a short stream. If it's 2 hours, it's a normal stream. There's a spider on here. It's only a tiny one, but I don't know how well he'll fare. Yeah. Right, so I'm not putting it in the bracket or anything. I'm just going to hang it out the back. Oops, I dropped something. Hope it wasn't important. Now that's plugged in, that's plugged in, that's plugged in, that's cool. Keyboard, possibly a mouse. Generally not supposed to hot swap keyboard and mouse. I have done it before and not had failures, but it's still recommended against, so. Yeah. I'm going to just rest this in here, it'll be easier. And I it needs to be close enough so that I can whack it if it decides it doesn't want to spin up again. All right, let's try again. And see what we get. Swap the view over here to the side view. So we've got a pretty broad range of what people think they might expect to see on this. Of course, this is assuming it does boot. Okay, and spinning up. Oh, it's making drive noises. Oh, look at that! Welcome to Macintosh. Connectix RAM doubler installed. Everyone remember RAM doubler? Oh, Jesus, sorry. That's fine. That's all right. That's okay. That's guaranteed. All right, let's see. We'll soon see. I think it might be a variation of... Oh, it's a 7. It's definitely a 7 variety. It is system 701. So whoever said 701 gets the cookie. So let's just there we go. Okay. This is very hard for me to do like this. I wonder if I can just spin it around a bit more. Isn't it wonderful? You can, of this old stuff, you can open up a hard drive, plug it in, and it still works. Okay, Peter. That's the name of the person I bought this from. Okay. Strat planning. All right, let's just have a look. We've got Solitaire, of course. No one's going to not have Solitaire. HD backup. Desk scene installer. Don't know what that is. Steve might know. We've got Excel, we've got Word. There's not a lot on here. Let's just see if we can get an idea of when this was last used. So, let's get some dates on here. 1996, well, this has got some vintage on it. It really does look to me like the last time someone used this was in 1996. January 1996, and then they upgraded to something faster. So he did tell me they upgraded to something faster. So yeah, how about that then? There's no applications folder. He's only got Excel and Word, and well, let's face it, that's not exactly a voyage into undiscovered territory, firing up Word or Excel. We're all pretty familiar with those. I'm just catching up on the chat. Does it have the Grouch installed? No, I don't think so. But it does have stuff in the trash. Shall we go in and see? Oh, we've got budgets and things, and this all looks like stuff that I should absolutely not be looking at. But again, we're still talking early 90s here. Yeah, no, that's all good. this is just the perfect time for me to just quickly tell you a story back in the days when I used to do some on-location IT stuff. And I've probably told this story before, so if you've heard it before, my apologies. But I went to do some work on someone's computer, and the hard drive was absolutely chockers full. And I needed to back up their computer in order to do some stuff. So I was going to get the hard drive connected, back the whole thing up, and then erase the hard drive, and then copy things back again and stuff like that. Anyhow, naturally, if I'm backing up the hard drive, I don't want to back up anything I don't need to back up. So the first thing I do is I sit down and I empty the trash. The chick pitches an absolute fit. She freaks out. She's like, I was filing all of this stuff in the trash. And no, we got it all back. We data recovered and got it all back. But who in their right mind uses the trash for filing? I'm just putting it out there. You know, you have the ability to create folders and copy things into folders, but she was using the trash for filing. So, had a customer who did that, yeah. It's from the mid-90s, yep. So anyhow, that's pretty much it. So at least it answers a few questions about things. So we didn't know anything about it when we opened it up, apart from the fact that it had a tail. So we found out that it does have this little adapter here that allows you to, it's our understanding, just output the signal to an external display. It's just a mirror. It's not actually giving you any additional desktop space. It just allows you to show this image on a bigger display. So we've got that. And this is a fun little thing. I'm looking forward to actually trying to get this up and running somehow. We know that it doesn't appear to have been used since about 1996. It didn't have any battery damage on it. The board itself was pretty tidy. And so all in all, it's pretty good. Got a little bit of burn in on the display here, but other than that, I consider this a real win. I'll give it a bit of a clean up, hit it with a bit of spray. It's got the night watch, I assume some sort of security thing on it there. It has, oh God, I've got the wrong glasses on to read that, just a sec. It says, this hard disk protected by the night watch, whatever that is. So, didn't stop me from opening it. Back up that Desk Scene app. I've never even heard of it, but yes, I will back it up. Has anyone else heard of it? No? Back up the Desk Scene app. Okay. People want the Desk Scene app back up. I'll do it now. I'm getting all this peer pressure, so I'm going to do it now. Pressure from my computing peers. Yep. Oh, I haven't got SCSI Probe on here. He doesn't have SCSI Probe on there. Oh, never mind. I'll do it later. Okay, well, I am now going to look at signing out. So I will say thank you everyone for joining me. I know this is a very weird time for me to live stream. It's not the normal time that I live stream, but as you can see, I had something to live stream. It was a bit of fun. We got to, check it out inside and see what it was like, and really good outcome in the end. There's another SE30. I'm going to load it up with a bunch of 4 megabyte sims, and this will be my sort of spare SE30, I guess. I do actually have an upgrade for an SE30, and I think I may even put it into this one, so that should be a bit of fun. The original Macintosh. Ah, well, Ryan, that is an interesting fun fact. Thank you for that. Hot swap SCSI, what man is he exactly? I do it all the friggin' time, but I know I'm not supposed to. Okay, so thanks again, everyone. Thank you for keeping me company. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and watched. I hope that was reasonably entertaining for you. I will probably try and, actually, I might live stream this weekend. If I do, it will be on my Saturday or Friday. I am occupied on the Sunday, so... yep, so thank you everyone, have a good one, and I will see you at the next one, hopefully. Bye-bye.